Here's your wrestling news for March 4th, 2022. And your headlines for today include: big breaking news as Vince McMahon indicates WWE's succession plan, The Undertaker reacts to Vince McMahon inducting him into WWE Hall of Fame, how much AEW paid to purchase ROH, why ROH reached out to WWE, and more. Tony Khan's current plan for the future of ROH television show. What is the status of Supercard of Honor? Great news for Cesaro fans as Tony Khan is open to signing Cesaro. AEW Revolution could include surprise debut. WWE shuts down network in Russia. Broadcast partnership terminated. WWE called out. Major backlash on Nia Jax once again. WWE wrestlers react. Vince McMahon isn't bothered by death threats. Friends and fans start hashtag FreeCain movement after Cain Velasquez's attempted murder arrest. Ronda Rousey reacts, and more. We are kicking off today with Vince McMahon, who this week had his long-awaited sit-down interview with Pat McAfee. At 76 years old, McMahon still runs as much of WWE as he can, but has made plans for when he's unable to be in charge of the company. While McMahon said he doesn't think about the post-Vince era a lot, he said that the company will continue to prosper and grow, with or without a McMahon family member in charge. The boss said that looking back, he expected more out of his family, which he admits is probably not the right thing to say. When McAfee said that what he's just said is a big deal, McMahon reiterated that you have to do what's right for business, even if that means removing a family member from the company. McMahon's words come months after Triple H being pushed out of prominence, with NXT being taken over by McMahon, who has rechristened it NXT 2.0. For years, it was naturally assumed that the Game and Stephanie McMahon would one day run WWE, but with the Game being blamed for NXT losing the Wednesday Night Wars, his future remains very uncertain. There's also Shane McMahon, who has never quite been as prominent when it comes to success as his sister and brother-in-law, and certainly won't be after being released by his father after his actions backstage at the Royal Rumble. With no family members left to choose as an heir, it certainly feels like WWE could be sold soon, or that at least someone not named McMahon will run things when McMahon is no longer able to. Pat McAfee was right to call McMahon's statement a big deal, but what do you think the future of WWE is? Let us know in the comments. This April, The Undertaker will take his rightful place in the WWE Hall of Fame after 3 decades of dominance in WWE. Not only was the Phenom a star of the company, but he always was loyal to Vince McMahon and is one of the very few big names from the Hulkamania era to never jump to WCW. That loyalty is being rewarded as during his appearance on the Pat McAfee show, Vince McMahon announced that he will be the one to induct the dead man on April 1st. In a tweet, The Undertaker responded, saying that after 30 years and countless hours of TV together, he can't think of anyone more suitable to induct him than the chairman of the board. This will only be the second time McMahon has personally inducted someone, as he did so for Donald Trump in 2013, and while the boss has shied away from public appearances in recent years, he's willing to break that rule for the Demon of Death Valley. This week, Tony Khan gave his long-awaited massive announcement during Dynamite and confirmed that he now owns Ring of Honor. As one of wrestling's longest-running promotions, Khan now has access to the entire ROH video library, including the footage from 2018's All In, as well as the company's talent. Cassidy Haynes of Bodyslam.net reports that very few people knew what Khan's announcement would be prior to Dynamite, with one source claiming that Khan paid between $30 to $40 million to acquire Ring of Honor. Multiple sources close to the situation went on to say that AEW's plans is for ROH to act as a developmental territory of sorts, much like NXT 2.0 is to WWE's main roster. Much like their counterparts working for Vince McMahon, it's said that talent from AEW will also dip into ROH on occasion, as we're seeing in WWE. After a shaky few months, Ring of Honor's future has been secured thanks to Tony Khan, and we'll hopefully learn more when ROH returns to our screens under new management next month. Khan's announcement certainly lived up to the weeks of hype the AEW president had given it, but being the owner of Ring of Honor has more advantages than you may first think. Not only does Tony Khan now have access to Ring of Honor's talent, but he also owns their video library, something that WWE really wanted to own in the past. Speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said that like AEW, WWE were offered the chance to purchase ROH, but that Khan obviously made the better offer. With reports of AEW wanting to do some sort of streaming service with HBO, this tape library is extremely valuable, and footage for some of their top stars, including Hangman Adam Page, CM Punk, and Bryan Danielson, will now be available to use. ROH also produced the 2018 All In event, which many consider as a proof of concept for AEW, and now Khan also owns this historic footage that helped prove an alternative to WWE was viable. With only 3 years of AEW content to work with, having ROH's video library is a huge win for Khan, and we'll have to see what use he has for it now that he owns the company. There's a lot of questions now as to what the future of Ring of Honor will be, as the company has been on hiatus since last December. When Ringside News asked about the situation, they were informed by talent that the upcoming tapings are still going to happen, despite the purchase by AEW's president. It's likely that ROH won't have Sinclair Broadcasting space to air the show, and it's expected that a new rights deal will be reached with another distributor. One source said they believe that ROH will soon find a home on TNT or another Turner channel in what would be a huge opportunity for ROH. Of course, anything can happen with TV deals, so the Ring of Honor talent shouldn't be celebrating just yet, and all we can say for certain now is that Khan has big plans for his new purchase. Ring of Honor's tapings are still going ahead, but the fate of their biggest show of the year, Supercard of Honor 15, is far from certain. Long before the Khan purchase, ROH confirmed that they would be returning from their hiatus on April 1st, but sources speaking to Fightful now say that that show is up in the air. There's reportedly very few people still under contract with Ring of Honor, and we'll just have to see if the first major event of the Tony Khan era makes it to our screens. Even with ROH under his ownership, Tony Khan still has AEW to run and will be running this weekend's Revolution pay-per-view in Orlando, Florida. Typically, AEW likes to have someone big debut at their pay-per-views, as we saw with last September's All Out, and it appears Revolution 2022 will be no different. On his show, Dave Meltzer said that there are several possibilities that could sign with AEW, and gave his pick, saying, "Obviously, All Out was the better show because of the big debuts. There's no promises of any big debuts. They can't do Jeff Hardy legally. I mean, Claudio could walk in on the show if they want to. If they want to do something, he likes to do stuff like that." Following the ROH purchase, AEW has a lot of eyes on their product right now, and time will tell who, if anyone, walks into the company this Sunday night. Cesaro would certainly be a huge score by AEW, as he's a globally recognized name thanks to his work in WWE. A former US champion and tag champion, fans have clamored for Cesaro to get a main event run for years, and Tony Khan could give him just that. During a media call to promote this Sunday's Revolution, Khan called Cesaro a fantastic athlete and says he has a ton of respect for the Swiss Superman. Khan went on to say that he's open to signing the former United States champion, who joined fellow WWE alum like Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho, and many others. Cesaro has yet to release a public statement on his WWE departure, but continues to receive praise from both peers and fans alike, and it may be a matter of time before we see him on TBS and TNT. For the past week, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has been the biggest news around the world, with Russia being almost universally condemned for their actions. Russia has been facing serious sanctions from dozens of nations, and now WWE themselves have taken a stance as they've pulled the WWE network from the country. In a statement from Stamford, it was confirmed that WWE has terminated its partnership with the Russian broadcaster Match, and that the network has been taken down immediately. Fans in Russia will now have to find illegal streams to watch WWE content, but with sanctions from the West showing no signs of letting up, the tide could quickly be turning against Vladimir Putin. Taking down the network is a huge move by Vince McMahon's company, but Russia isn't the only controversial nation that WWE has ties to. While many have praised WWE for pulling their product even at their own expense, many others have branded the company hypocrites for continuing to do huge business with Saudi Arabia. Some fans brought up the 2018 murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, allegedly at the request of the Saudi royals, and how WWE still went ahead with that year's Crown Jewel event. After years of WWE working with the Saudi royals, it's no wonder why fans are skeptical about the moral stance that company has taken against Russia. All we know for sure is that Russian fans will no longer have access to official WWE content, while those in Saudi Arabia will continue to enjoy content, as well as 2 massive events each year for many years to come. Speaking of massive events, WWE is building towards WrestleMania 38, and now another match has been confirmed for the 2-night show. On Twitter, it was announced that on Saturday, April 2nd, Drew McIntyre will face Happy Corbin, and after months of being tormented by Corbin and Madcap Moss, the Scotsman will be looking for revenge on the grandest stage of them all. Last November, Nia Jax was released from WWE in a shocking move, as many assumed she'd be with the company for life. Jax has since teased that her wrestling career is over, but should she wrestle again, it won't be with WWE. When a fan said that Jax and Doudrop should win the WWE Tag Team titles, the Irresistible Force said no, claiming she gets daily phone calls from talent and that everybody is miserable. This wasn't her only hot take of the week, as on Instagram, Jax spoke about the Russia-Ukraine crisis, saying, "All these MFs saying I stand with Ukraine couldn't even stand for their own personal rights for 2 years because they were scared to breathe." To be clear, the invasion of a sovereign nation and the killing of thousands is different to having to wear a cloth mask during a pandemic, and Jax has been bashed for her comment on social media. Becky Lynch has even gone so far as to unfollow Jax, as the man has no time for Jax's controversial hot takes on this very serious situation. This week, WWE and A&E announced a new extension of their current deal, which will see over 130 hours of new content produced. WWE Most Wanted Treasures, which explores some of the rarest items of WWE memorabilia, was picked up as part of the agreement, which has made for an interesting situation with AJ Francis. Francis, aka Top Dollar, was the host of the first season, but was released from WWE last November, but that shouldn't stop him hosting Most Wanted Treasures. During a virtual signing, Francis said that he signed on for multiple seasons of the show with WWE Studios, which is separate to his WWE contract, so theoretically, he didn't get released from his contract as host. Francis did admit that he's not entirely sure what'll happen, and said that he could never hear from WWE and they host the show with someone else. There's no word yet on who will host WWE Most Wanted Treasures Season 2, but if WWE is looking for a host, Francis is ready to get back in that role. More from Vince McMahon now, as over the decades, the boss made plenty of enemies on his road to the top of pro wrestling. In his interview with Pat McAfee, McMahon spoke about some of the threats on his life by those irked by his actions, but these threats never fazed the chairman. "I don't know how many different rivers I was supposed to be at the bottom of. You know, death threats are what they are. I always felt like if you can knock off a president of the United States, I'm easy to get to. I never had a bodyguard, none of that stuff. In those days, it was like you, from their standpoint, invaded their territory. There's so many times when people threatened me, and it was like, the last guy, I said, if you want to take credit for it, you better get me quick." Even at 76, McMahon isn't afraid about anyone doing him harm, and after infamously saying he's got balls the size of grapefruits, his attitude towards death threats certainly gives credence to those claims. And we're ending today with Cain Velasquez after the former UFC and WWE alum was arrested on Monday evening. Velasquez has been charged with 10 counts of breaking the law, including attempted murder, and if found guilty, could serve a minimum of 20 years and up to life in prison. With that said, the former heavyweight champion does have people on his side, and on social media, the hashtag FreeCain was recently trending. Not only that, but friends, family, and fans of his have rallied around the Santa Clara County Courthouse, where Velasquez recently appeared, protesting his detainment and demanding his release. In reports on the shooting, it is said that Velasquez was aiming at a man who has been accused of a lewd act with a minor, but shot the stepfather of the man instead. Ronda Rousey has also shown her support for Cain, saying in a tweet that if she was in his position, she would have done the same, if not worse, than the former heavyweight champion, ending her tweet with hashtag FreeCainVelasquez. Velasquez's next court date is on March 23rd, and we'll keep following this story for further updates. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.